Harry Banks is a wealthy and ruthless banker. He has made his fortune through cunning deals and often uses his power to manipulate those around him. While he's not a bad man at heart, he has been hardened by the competitive nature of his profession. He is in his mid-40s, tall, sharp, and cold, with little to no room for emotions in his world. Harry has a maid by name Lola. The young maid works in Harry's mansion. She's in her early 20s, energetic, with a smile that can brighten even the darkest of days. She is working to support her family, having come from a humble background. Her passion for dancing is something she keeps hidden, as it could jeopardize her job. Lola has a dream of becoming a professional dancer one day, but she's stuck in the cycle of cleaning wealthy homes to make ends meet. Harry has a hard-nosed banker who prides himself on his career and wealth. His mansion, filled with valuable art pieces and expensive furniture, is the perfect symbol of his success. He spends most of his time working on deals, either in his office or on business calls. He doesn't have much time for relationships, and his social life is almost non-existent. He hires a maid, Lola, who is a sweet, hard-working young woman. She's quiet, always willing to help, but Harry hardly notices her. One day, after a long, tiring day at work, Harry comes home unexpectedly early. He opens the door to his mansion and hears soft music coming from one of the rooms. Intrigued, he walks quietly toward the sound, and there, in the living room, he sees Lola dancing to the rhythm of a popular song. She's lost in the music, her movements fluid and graceful. Harry watches in silence for a moment, taken aback by the beauty of the scene. He's not used to seeing people in his house express themselves so freely. In the past, he has only seen people work hard, cater to his needs, and then leave. For the first time in years, Harry feels an emotional stir within him, though he cannot place the exact feeling. At first, Lola doesn't notice Harry. She's too caught up in the music, her body moving in ways that express all the emotions she's kept locked inside. Eventually, she notices Harry standing at the doorway. Her face flushes with embarrassment, and she quickly stops dancing. She starts to apologize, stammering nervously, thinking she might lose her job. But Harry surprises her. Instead of scolding her, he walks up to her slowly and tells her that he wasn't angry. He's curious, asking her about her passion for dancing. Harry reveals that he used to have dreams of being a musician when he was younger, but the demands of life and career pushed those dreams aside. Lola shares her dreams of becoming a professional dancer but admits that her current job isn't something she's proud of. It's just a way to survive. As they talk, Harry begins to open up about his own life, something he rarely does. He speaks about how he's always been obsessed with power and wealth and how it has left him lonely. He even admits that he feels empty despite all his riches. Lola, on the other hand, is full of life and optimism. She shares stories of her childhood, how her mother taught her how to dance, and how she used to dream of performing in front of large audiences. Over time, Harry and Lola's bond grows, though neither acknowledges it openly. Harry, intrigued by her passion, hires a private dance instructor for Lola. At first, Lola is hesitant. She doesn't want to take advantage of Harry's generosity, but Harry insists. He tells her that life is too short to not follow your dreams. However, their growing connection starts to stir trouble. Lola becomes more comfortable around Harry, even enjoying their conversations over lunch. The problem arises when Harry's wife's family finds out about their relationship. Rumors start to spread, and Lola is accused of using Harry's kindness for her own gain. This turns Harry's world upside down. He begins to question his choices. Is he just helping Lola because she's different from the people in his life, or is there something more to it? The people around him begin to see the budding connection between him and Lola, and the backlash intensifies. Lola is a girl who grew up in a small, humble town on the outskirts of a bustling city. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone else, and the streets were filled with children playing in the evenings, the sound of laughter echoing down the narrow alleys. Her family, though poor, was full love. Her mother, Grace, was a schoolteacher who did everything she could to provide for Lola and her two younger brothers. Despite the financial struggles, Grace managed to nurture Lola's love for the arts, especially dance. Grace wasn't just a teacher of academics, she was a teacher of life. She encouraged her children to express themselves freely, to dream big, even when the world around them seemed too small. Lola's father, Chaik, was a mechanic who worked long hours, often late into the night, to make ends meet. He was a quiet man who loved his family deeply but didn't show it in words. His way of showing love was through hard work. Fixing cars, making repairs, and ensuring his children had what they needed, even if it was just the basics. From a young age, Lola loved to move, whether it was in the small living room of their modest home, in the kitchen while helping her mother cook, or at the local park. Her mother would play her favorite songs, the soulful tunes of old Nigerian legends, and Lola would dance barefoot on the cracked tiles, moving as though the music was a part of her very being. Grace would often sit in the corner of their home, watching her daughter with a smile on her face, telling her, "You've got the rhythm of the earth in your blood. Dance, my child, for the world is waiting to see you." These words stuck with Lola, becoming her silent motivation. She knew from the moment she could remember that she wanted to dance, but her reality was a world far removed from the grand stages of dance halls and theaters. The family's financial struggles made it difficult for Lola to pursue her passion fully. There were no ballet schools or dance academies where she could hone her skills, and the closest thing to formal training was the occasional dance workshop in the city, which her mother could never afford. But despite the lack of formal training, Lola had something that no school could teach: raw talent. She practiced on her own, using the living room mirror to perfect her moves. She was known in the community for her grace and natural rhythm. Whenever there was a wedding or a celebration, people would often ask her to dance. It was her way of contributing to the joy of those around her, her way of shining. However, as Lola grew older, reality set in. The pressures of life came down hard. She couldn't afford to dream anymore, not the way she had when she was younger. The responsibility of taking care of her brothers weighed heavily on her. Her father's health started to decline due to years of physical labor, and her mother, while loving, had her own battles with fatigue and stress. For Harry Banks has a man of power, and power, in his case, often led him to dark places. Harry sat across the table from a small business owner, Edward, who had come to seek a loan. The man's voice trembled as he laid out his plans to expand his failing restaurant. Harry had the power to either lift him from his financial troubles or crush him under the weight of bureaucracy. The room was dimly lit, casting long shadows over the polished mahogany surface between them. Edward spoke of his dreams, the kind of dreams Harry had once had, long before they had been buried by his ambition. The man talked about his family, his children, and how much he needed this loan to keep his restaurant afloat. Harry listened in silence, his sharp eyes never leaving Edward's face. "I can offer you a loan," Harry said, his voice cold, as if it was just another transaction. "But you need to pledge the entire business and your house as collateral. If you default, everything is mine." Edward's face paled, the weight of the proposition sinking in. He hesitated, but Harry wasn't one to wait for long. "You're in no position to negotiate," Harry added, leaning forward slightly. "Take the deal or lose everything." Edward's hands shook as he signed the contract, desperate and vulnerable. Harry smiled inwardly, watching him. He didn't care about the consequences. What mattered was that Edward had now bound himself to Harry's whims. When the restaurant failed, as Harry knew it would, the man would have nothing left. Just another victim in Harry's long list of conquests. Harry had always been good at controlling people, particularly when he knew they had something to lose. Lola's mother, Grace, had been working for him for a few months before Harry decided to use her for his own selfish purposes. Grace was a simple woman who didn't quite understand the extent of Harry's manipulative power. One evening, Harry invited Grace to his office to discuss a small matter. The air was thick with tension as she sat across from him, wondering why she had been called. Harry had recently found out about her background, about the sacrifices she made for her children, and he saw an opportunity to leverage her loyalty to his advantage. "I have a proposition for you," Harry began, his eyes cold and calculating. "I've been looking for someone to run my charitable foundation. You have the experience, Grace. I could make it happen, give you a life beyond your current means." Grace, humbled by his offer, smiled faintly. grateful for the recognition. "But," Harry continued, "there's a condition. You must make sure your daughter, Lola, stays out of my business. No more dancing, no more talking about her dreams. She will never go anywhere with that passion of hers. I'll pull all my support if she steps out of line." Grace's heart sank. She loved her daughter more than anything, and the idea of quashing her dream hurt her deeply. But Harry's words were laced with venom. If she refused, there would be consequences: financial ruin, job loss, and Harry's influence would suffocate her family. The stakes were too high. Harry knew that his control over Grace was the perfect leverage. She would do anything to protect her family, even if it meant sacrificing her daughter's future. Harry's acceptance of Lola's dancing didn't come easily. For the longest time, he had kept himself firmly in control of every aspect of his life, from his career to the people around him. He was a man who had everything but felt nothing, a man who ruled with an iron fist and never allowed anyone to get close enough to affect him emotionally. But that evening when he first saw Lola dance, something shifted inside him, a small crack in the cold, hardened shell he had built around himself over the years. In the beginning, Harry tried to ignore the stirrings inside him. It was just a moment of weakness, he told himself. It was nothing. He was a banker, a ruthless businessman. His life was one of calculated moves, of never letting his emotions get in the way. But that didn't explain why, whenever he closed his eyes, he could still see Lola's fluid movements, her graceful steps, and the joy she exuded while dancing. The next few days were filled with unease. Harry couldn't shake the feeling that something about that moment was significant. As a man who had spent years shutting out everything that didn't serve his purpose, he found himself questioning the value of the very thing he had suppressed, the passion to live freely, to pursue a dream without fearing failure. He couldn't explain why he felt drawn to Lola's passion for dancing. It wasn't just the dance itself that caught his attention. It was the way she lived in the moment, how she seemed to lose herself in the music, how the joy in her movements reminded him of something he had lost a long time ago, something that once made him feel truly alive. He had buried those feelings beneath the weight of his career, and for the first time in a long time, he wondered if it was too late to find them again. Harry had always believed in control. To him, dancing was just another unpredictable, chaotic art form that didn't belong in the world of banking and power. It was a symbol of vulnerability, a trait he couldn't afford. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized how much he had allowed his life to be consumed by the need for power, status, and wealth. He had built his empire by using others as stepping stones, by manipulating situations to his advantage, and by keeping his emotions locked away behind closed doors. But all of that had left him isolated. Lola's dancing made him realize that perhaps life wasn't all about control. Maybe there was beauty in chaos, in freedom, in expression. One evening, after work, Harry found himself at the mansion earlier than usual. He was tired, physically and emotionally, but his thoughts about Lola's dance hadn't left him. He knew he had to face whatever it was that was bothering him. For the first time in years, he wanted to understand what it meant to feel. He walked through the mansion, making his way toward the music room, where he had first seen Lola dancing. He stopped at the door, listening to the soft melody echoing inside. He hesitated before pushing the door open. There, in the middle of the room, Lola was dancing again, her body moving with ease, her face serene and lost in the music. She hadn't seen him yet. Harry stood in the doorway, watching her as if she were a vision. She was so free, so open, and it was as if the world outside that room didn't matter. In that moment, Harry understood something that had eluded him for most of his life, the power of living in the moment, of pursuing a passion without fear of judgment or failure. He could see that Lola had the courage to embrace her dreams, despite the harshness of the world. Finally, he stepped forward. Lola stopped mid-movement, her eyes wide with surprise when she saw him standing there. A flush of embarrassment spread across her face, and she quickly apologized, her words tumbling out. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Banks. I didn't mean to." But Harry raised his hand to stop her. "No, don't apologize," he said quietly, his voice more gentle than she had ever heard it. "Lola, you're incredible. Lola blinked in confusion, unsure of how to respond. I've been watching you, Harry continued, taking a few steps into the room. And I've realized that I've been so caught up in my own life, so obsessed with control and success, that I forgot what it means to truly live. To feel. To be free. Lola remained silent, unsure of what to say. She had never heard Harry speak like this before, and the vulnerability in his voice took her by surprise. I used to have dreams, he confessed, his eyes looking away for a moment as if lost in his own past. I wanted to be a musician once. But I let the world tell me that it wasn't practical. That it wasn't enough. Lola listened intently, realizing that Harry's words were more than just an apology. They were an acknowledgement of his own buried dreams. You have something that I don't have, Harry continued, looking at her with a newfound respect. The courage to pursue what makes you feel alive. I've spent my life chasing after things that don't matter, and I've missed out on the things that truly do. Lola was stunned. She never imagined that Harry, the powerful, cold businessman, could ever say something so raw, so human. It was as if the walls he had built around himself had finally crumbled. He stepped closer to her, a soft smile playing on his lips. I've decided to support you, Lola. I want you to follow your passion. I will help you get the training you need, and I will do everything I can to help you pursue your dreams of dancing. You deserve it. Lola's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Harry Banks, the man who had built an empire on ruthlessness, was offering to help her chase her dreams. Thank you, she whispered, her voice full of emotion. But why? Why would you do that for me? Harry met her gaze, his eyes soft but resolute. Because I see something in you that I lost in myself a long time ago. I want to help you hold on to it. Months passed, and the bond between Harry and Lola grew stronger. Harry kept his word, he arranged for Lola to train with the best dance instructors in the city. She poured herself into her lessons, pushing herself harder than ever before, knowing that for the first time in her life, she had someone in her corner who believed in her. As the days went by, Harry found himself rediscovering a part of himself that he had long abandoned. He started playing his old guitar again, something he hadn't done in years. The sound of the strings brought back memories of a time when he was carefree, when he felt truly alive. One evening, Lola performed at a local theater for the first time. Harry sat in the audience, watching with pride as she danced under the spotlight, her body moving with grace and confidence. The crowd cheered as she finished, and Harry couldn't help but feel a deep sense of satisfaction. He had helped her find her way, and in doing so, he had found something in himself that he thought was lost forever. Later that night, after the performance, Harry met Lola backstage. She was beaming with joy, her face glowing from the excitement of the crowd's applause. Thank you, she said, her voice full of gratitude. None of this would have been possible without you. Harry smiled, his eyes softening. You did this, Lola. I just gave you the push you needed. And for the first time in years, Harry felt at peace. He had finally let go of his obsession with control and power. He had learned that the most important thing in life wasn't money or status. It was following your passion, no matter where it led. As they walked out into the cool night, Harry and Lola shared a quiet moment, knowing that they had both found something precious, freedom, love, and the courage to chase their dreams, no matter the obstacles. And in that moment, under the stars, Harry realized that it wasn't too late to live a life that truly mattered.